Yeah. Do the intro, bro.
You ready?
Yeah. What's up? What do you think?
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Yo. It's your boy, uneducated brother. How we do it out here in these streets, man. Yo, my boy Ken came down. He was like, yo, it's something I gotta show you. You know what I'm saying? Yo, Ken, what you gotta show me, man?
Alright, what's up, guys? So, I was searching through the web, out there surfing, and I stumbled across a nice little video here. This is gonna be really interesting, because I want to see what you're gonna say and how you're gonna react.
Yeah,
Mr. America over here.
a pro-black America.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
America.
You know what I'm saying?
Alright, so you ready?
Yeah,
Yo, I
I'm ready.
really want to see how you're gonna react, son, cause, and I want to see how you feel represented by the one black person there. Alright?
Yeah.
Alright? I want to see, cause see, representation matters.
Yeah,
Right?
representation
Representation matters.
Make us
So,
look bad, man.
let's see who's representing us, in China.
Yeah, let's make it happen.
Opposition side can interrupt anytime, while the opposition side cannot. For the team asking questions, he or she would have a time limit of 30 seconds to ask a question. Also bear in mind, that needs to be a question, not a statement, not a comment, not a rhetorical question. Now, Enoch from the proposition team, you may proceed.
Thank you. So let me kickstart with a couple of short questions. I have a dream. When was that sentence said by Martin Luther King?
Do you mean the year? Or
Yeah.
I,
It's okay. Let me remind you. 1963.
Oh,
I can't breathe.
pause. My nigga. Yo, you cannot go someplace representing America, right? And have, right, somebody else schooling you about your own history, son. Yo, you black. That's Martin Luther King. You supposed to, what you let a Chinese man do this shit?
Top of the head, son.
Yo, you know what? I'm a play. I'm already getting mad, son. But
Alright.
that's fucked up, my nigga.
50 years later. So the second speaker mentioned about making progress and development. So my question is, how does U.S. human rights solve problems, as you said, in racial discrimination? How does that mean? What does that mean for that 8 minutes and 40 seconds of George Floyd? What does that mean for Breonna Taylor in solving the systemic racial issue, while 99% of the police is never being charged even once? And anyone?
Okay, I think the first response I'm going to make is that you still see those.
This game changer, son. My mind is blowing. You letting motherfuckers from other countries, right? Like throwing your oppression in your face, and we gotta sit here and just take it.
Wow.
The nigga brought up George Floyd, he brought up Martin Luther King, and all of this, like, yo, this history that we supposed to know about, they know better than us. I would have stood up, son.
Yo, that's
Fuck that.
crazy.
Fuck
That's
that.
crazy.
Yo, go ahead, play that, son. My bad.
Hold on. Yo, they threw that shit in our faces in the debate.
Yo, they're holding.
Dang.
Yo, they're
That's insane.
holding people based on their political belief in internment camps, my G.
The detention facilities in Uyghur region, such as the internment camps, are still being run by the Chinese authorities, although they continue to deny the existence of these facilities and the more than 1 million Uyghurs and others in these camps. This is still ongoing. It's not getting any better. Now, because of the coronavirus outbreak in Urumqi, the capital, and other places, the situation actually for the Uyghurs is even much worse. We have actually just this week reported a new kind of detention facility, a kind of family camp actually, the Chinese government are sending released Uyghur detainees from internment camps to these family detention facilities where they allow these people to live with their families, but they still have to go through the same kind of political indoctrination, such as studying China's laws, self-criticism, and continue to study Chinese language instead of the Uyghur.
This is the same people that's doing this shit. It is like, now they are lecturing you about George Floyd, nigga? Oh my goodness.
Damn, I wonder who they got that token point from.
Oh my.
Kind of progress happening. That is the reason why you see Barack Obama come to stay, right? But secondly, I want to talk about, like, in China, it does not mean discrimination does not happen in China. You still have this kind of discrimination against, like, rural people in these kind of areas.
Sure,
right?
great. So it still hasn't solved the problem. That was my point. After 50 years, nothing has been solved. So even with US human rights, nothing has been solved, particularly with racial problem after 50 years, 5 decades. So you asked me to make comparison. My colleague mentioned about in 2020, China has officially eradicated absolute poverty, lifting 750 million Chinese out of poverty. That's 80% of the world extreme poverty. Comparison. Do you know how many people are in under poverty line in the US?
You can just...
Sure, great. So that's 43.5 million Americans living in under poverty. And 1 in 6 Americans go to bed hungry with lack of access to healthy meals and visit the food bank every year. So again, that's comparison for you. With hard work, 4 decades, 750 million lifted out of poverty. So I want to ask from the US perspective, 0 versus 43.5 million. What does that say to human rights?
Can I ask back a question?
You will have
for
the opportunity next.
Yeah, okay.
Please answer the question.
You have anything to add? You good?
The nigga hit you with some facts. Can't argue with that.
Yo.
Yeah, the only thing that I can say is, yo, nigga, we got problems. You see what the nigga just said? Like, yo, I have this shit for over 60 years, right? 60 years since the whole, like, Martin Luther King situation.
Hold on. How long Biden has been in politics?
40 years, my G, 40 years. You know what I'm saying? And the problem is, in our side, because he pointed out some shit that is so true. You know what I'm saying? But the reason why it's like that is because we have 2 political systems, right? That is hell-bent within their self-own interests, right? And not the interests of the American people.
Yeah.
You know? One say, hey, I want to leave you alone and hopefully you prosper, while the other one say, I'm going to make sure you prosper. The one that said, I'm going to make sure you prosper, has their hand in the lack of you prospering. You know what I'm saying? I.e. through government welfare and all of that extra shit. Whew.
That's
God
crazy.
damn.
That is crazy, right?
I don't know whether the poverty standard is the same when you actually talk about poverty at US and China, right? But I do feel like that China is oftentimes identifies ourselves as a kind of like developing country, which means that we are still underdeveloped.
So are you denying China's achievement in lifting 750 people out of poverty?
No, we are not denying that. But
So
still,
please answer the question: how U.S. human rights help to lift the 43.5 million, which is still living under poverty? 1 out of 6, out of 8 of us, 1 of us will be going to bed hungry if we're all Americans. Let me go then to externally. Something
Is it
that
a black girl?
has been said and
You saw the black girl's eyes? She's like, oh shit, this nigga's going in on us.
Yeah, the niggas going in on us, man. I'm getting my ass whooping this debate mentally right now. Yeah, I'm losing.
Son. But hold on. Our dude made a good point, right? You saying you extinguish poverty, but is it the same? You get me? What are the living conditions? You get me?
Have a look at how China measures poverty compared to the rest of the world. Beijing defines extreme poverty as earning less than $620 a year or $1.70 per day. That's lower than the World Bank standard of $1.90. There's also the question of whether China should be considered rich, poor, or somewhere in between. The World Bank has set the poverty line for upper middle-income countries at $5.50. On that basis, nearly 30% of the Chinese population still lives below the line. And according to a recent report for the Brookings Institute, China is only as well off as the US was in the 1960s. Some experts say China has set a low bar on how it defines poverty. More investment is still needed in the poorest areas.
Federal minimum wage in the United States is $7.25 per hour. A 40-hour work week for 50 weeks a year would net an income of $14,500, which is well below the poverty line for a family of four. It's hard.
But and at the same time, while all this was happening for this guy to be bragging about, it was happening under the American back, the American labor force back, because a bunch of companies moved over to China. We sold out America to China. That's why China is doing better than us right now. Intellectual properties, production, means of production, everything.
China has grown more powerful. America has grown more dependent on it. Outsourcing our manufacturing power brought American companies big short-term profits. Head to Florida and you'll see the houses they built with those profits. But in the long run, that decision made this country dangerously dependent on a nation that seeks to displace us on the world stage. Consider just one small sector of the American economy: medical supplies. China is now a top producer of antibiotics, surgical tools, prescription drug ingredients, face masks, and many more essential products that you need to stay alive. 80% of our antibiotics right now come from China. Hard to believe, but true. The coronavirus panic alone was enough to cause shortages of some of these materials. What'll happen if an even bigger crisis comes along, as it inevitably will? Or what if China simply cuts off exports as a show of force? That could happen. Maybe they invade Taiwan and then cut off exports. How do we respond? We'd be helpless. The saddest and most infuriating part is that none of this needed to happen in the first place. China didn't just one day magically overtake us. Our leaders made that possible. They abetted it. They profited from it. They betrayed us.
Yep. You know what I'm saying? So like, yo, come on, son. And now, right, we done did that, and look how them niggas is slapping us in the face with it.
But he's right. He's right. And there was a guy, I don't remember his name, but he predicted it. You get me? We shipped all our jobs off to China. But we did that, but in return, what did we get? Products made for cheap products. Cheap products.
Cheap ass products.
They were able to afford.
Cause it's not worth it.
But it's economics. But that's economics.
Nah, it's economics for them. It's economics for the rich, but not economics for the poor.
Yeah, but that's economics, period. Across the board. Unless you want to do crony, like you said, crony.
That's crony capitalism. That's what China is. Yo, watch it. Mosquito just winning it.
I know. I peeped that. Oh, no, nigga, I'm good.
Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, I got more.
Yo, are we even recording?
Yeah.
No, we're not. Oh, yes, we are. Oh, shit. Because my shit is up here on the top.
Yeah, that's what China's been doing, man. China's been practicing some crony capitalism going on over there, where the citizens itself don't have full rights like the way we have. They can't even talk against the government. Companies can't talk against the government, or else companies will be eradicated.
First, one of China's wealthiest investors. Then, a world-famous movie star. And now, one of the world's most powerful policemen. All of them have disappeared under unclear circumstances after crossing Chinese authorities. Unexplained detentions are not new in China, but they are now swallowing people who were once thought to be safe. The message is clear. No matter who you are, the Communist Party can get you.
People are mourning the doctor who died yesterday after putting out an early warning about the coronavirus outbreak. Dr. Li Wenliang contracted the virus last month, and back in December, he noticed a number of patients with symptoms resembling SARS. That's when he tried to warn people on social media to take protective measures. Dr. Li was detained and accused of making false comments and spreading rumors. Chinese social media users have posted demands the government apologize to Dr. Li using the hashtag #WeWantFreedomOfSpeech. Many of those comments have now been censored. The Chinese government has offered condolences to Lee's family, but no apology.
You know what I mean? And they don't have we have that freedom here to talk against our government. Look what we've been doing for the last 4 years. You know what I'm saying? And this is why I say that we are in a dictatorship, because nobody's speaking out against this government right now.
Well, the thing is, I feel like our government is practicing what the China government does.
Yeah.
You feel me? And by that, I'm talking about, you know, propaganda.
Yeah.
And like suppressing.
Yeah.
All the different kind of thoughts.
Are there any types of stories that you would not be able to report on because you're reporting for Chinese state media?
Well, to be honest, I'm pretty happy about what we cover. Geopolitical issues, US social issues, and also China-US relations. If you ask me, are there editorial preferences? Of course there are editorial preferences.
You say that, but CCTV is notoriously a government mouthpiece. Xi Jinping himself said that state media is to serve the purposes of the party. And
I didn't say that. Some lower-ranking officials said that.
But in February this year, Xi Jinping told media officials that all news media run by the party must work to speak for the party's will and its propositions.
Aye. What you thought about that? That first round? Bah, 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 bah.
We getting our ass kicked, boy. We getting our ass kicked. Yo, it's like you have a house, right, with kids, right, and a wife, right, and then you spend all of your money, right, on the neighbors, right, living, right, and then he got rich. Now he's coming into your house, telling you about your fuck ups after you done got him rich. That's what it's like.
Yeah, nigga.
So I will ask just a few questions. Maybe they will be rhetorical, so I'm gonna break some rules here. I'm sorry. Let's start with the basics. You decided not to define human rights. So my question is, do you think that corruption is connected to human rights?
She hit him in the neck. That's why I fucks to her. I like her, son. I like her, yo. The whole video, she's like this, son. She's like this, like an alpha female. She's an alpha female, son. She's like this the whole time. Straight face, straight face. Alpha.
Personally, are you sure that you're aware about all problems happening in China?
I think we're clear about this question as much as you're clear about all the problems that is happening in the United States.
How can you say so? What is your claim?
My claim is that the only reason you ask me this question because you have no answer to this question.
You can have a personal question. I'm asking, do you believe that you're aware about all the problems happening in China?
Yes, I just told you. My understanding of all the problems happening in China is the same amount of your understanding of all the problems happening in the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving further, the question, like the statement about poverty alleviation. I have a very broad question. Do you know how those people live? Those who were alleviated from poverty, do you know how do they live right now? Do you have the statistics how many of them eat before going to bed?
As a matter of fact, I was personally involved in the poverty alleviation part, and actually I covered some of the stories there. And actually I do believe that those people having been lifted poverty are enjoying a better lives here.
Like what? Can you give some examples, please, if it is possible?
Of course, I know this village person who is used to live in a very remote areas. They have to travel for miles after miles to get basic subsistence for food and water. But now they're living in places that are closer to the city center, so that they could easily get the necessities for their livelihood. And I think that is the de facto improvement of their life qualities, and thus protecting their human rights.
So do they still live in rural area or they moved to the city?
oh, actually the statistics and the facts are right there up to see, and now they do not live in the city, but they live in the better side of they live in a better neighborhood of the countryside.
So you basically say that the living conditions of the countryside in China are much better than those in the US, correct?
I specifically did not say that.
Right.
I'm saying that their living conditions right now is better than where they used to live.
Those are also the people working in the companies. Those are the people working, making the iPhones, making other shit, making other crazy hours for very low pay. Cause why? China provides you with a house, China provides you with everything. All you gotta do is go to fucking work, nigga. And shut the fuck up.
Foxconn, a China-based company, has become very well known as a major manufacturer in Apple products. It is also known as a company with various stories of abuse and labor violations. Reports of horrible work conditions, cramped living, and forcing workers to work upwards of 100 hours a week began to leak out of the company years ago, causing global outrage, with customers demanding retailers using Foxconn to improve their conditions. The biggest of which was, of course, Apple. Apple claimed that they were doubling down on improving conditions for their workers, and while indeed some aspects have improved, reports from as recently as 2013 seem to indicate that there is much left to be improved. Foxconn has been known to punish its employees by forcing them to clean toilets, sweep grass lawns, and write confession letters that are shown publicly to other workers to shame them. Living conditions for these workers are extremely cramped, with upwards of 20 to 30 workers sharing tiny 3-bedroom flats, meaning that up to 10 employees at a time are cramped into just one small bedroom. These conditions lead to extreme depression for many workers, who are left with choosing between extreme poverty back in the villages where they come from, or being essentially used as slaves. This causes record numbers of employees committing suicide at Foxconn. To combat this, the company has installed netting to stop suicides. Along with this, many employees were made to sign agreements stating that their families were not allowed to sue Foxconn if they were ever to commit suicide. This, rather than fixing the problem, simply covered the company legally. Among the harsh work conditions was that staff were made to stand without sitting for the entirety of their shifts. In response to the outrage that came when this leaked, though, workers were allegedly given stools to sit on. However, workers have claimed that they are forced to sit only on 1/3 of the stool seat to, quote, keep them nimble. One worker interviewed in an article posted by The Guardian claimed that at times of high iPhone sales, workers at Foxconn were made to work upwards of 100 hours a week. While these workers aren't technically slaves, as they can choose to leave at any time, workers endure these horrible work conditions because they come from extreme poverty and have no other way to provide for their families. Taking advantage of these desperate people, Foxconn treats its employees as they wish. While Foxconn has been greatly associated with Apple, in reality the company produces products for a variety of other Western companies as well, like Amazon, Hewlett-Packard, and Dell.
Come on, that's how they do it. That's how they do it. What? Think, right? Doesn't that make sense? They control everything, right? We provide you with a house, we provide you with food, right? All you gotta focus on is going to work. But you work Monday through Friday, motherfucker. Monday through Sunday, nigga. Monday through Monday, my nigga, you work all day, all night. Nigga, you never get no break. You live at work.
Word.
Son.
You know what I'm saying?
That's not human rights. I do feel like the American side, they just came out looking weak. The other side came out looking strong. But you gotta understand too, if you're in a country that if you talk negative about them, they're gonna kill you. That's exactly how you're gonna be debating. You see how careful they were. They didn't want to debate. It's a debate, but like I don't know, man. I feel like it was like handicapped. Like they told them, like, yo, you gotta be careful what you say.
Well, actually, I do agree that I disagree with the US foreign policy. But domestically, China is not doing a great job, and we kind of know what I can talk about here, but I don't want to.
Now I would like to welcome the third debaters from either side to conclude his or her arguments. Enoch, please proceed.
If the U.S. saw what U.S. is doing in the U.S. would invade the U.S. to liberate the U.S. from the tyranny of the U.S.
Man, sit your dumb ass down and shut.
This was said by the Lebanese permanent representative to the UN. This sentence exactly highlights the hypocrisy, the double standard that U.S. has, and we do not believe U.S. human rights support human at all.
Well, can you begin to imagine what China's President Xi Jinping makes of all this as he views it from Beijing? Just over the weekend in the Chinese capital, there was a dead-of-night dress rehearsal for a highly nationalistic military parade that will take place there in just over 3 weeks. And yet here in Hong Kong, a part of China, you have tens of thousands of demonstrators on the streets brandishing American flags. They are begging the US government to diplomatically intervene in the crisis here. Now the funny thing is, China's government, without much proof, constantly claims that the CIA is meddling, that there is too much foreign interference here. These protesters say there's not enough. They really want the US Congress to pass a law that would make Hong Kong's privileged trading relationship with the US conditional on an annual human rights review. And they hope this would therefore put pressure on China's government to allow this city to finally have a proper democratic form of universal suffrage.
We need independence.
Yep. And what's your message to? Have you seen Donald Trump? Do you think he should step in?
Donald Trump don't trust China. China is asshole.
In China, we believe, and we strongly believe, that right to life and right to health is more important than any other right, because dead people can't speak and dead people don't live, and therefore it's very difficult for them to have rights.
Stop the cap!
Throughout early 2016, the United States, the European Union, and other world powers released a series of joint statements citing growing concern over China's respect for human rights. According to Reuters, the documents accuse the Chinese government of covering up disappearances, censoring opposition, and fostering a biased judicial system, among a slew of other violations.
And it is demonstrated by the year of 2020, with how the US dealt with COVID-19. And if you say otherwise, tell that to that 500,000 people who no longer have any rights because of how US responded.
Late last year, journalists with the BBC tried to visit that mine to get some answers. And when they got there, they were followed by plainclothes police officers. They found the road to the mine had been blocked by a broken down truck. So the Chinese government covered this up. But here's the worst part, and the most shocking part if you're an American. Some within the US government helped them cover it up. They knew all along this was going on, but they buried the truth too, because their interests were aligned with the interests of the Chinese government.
Here's an article today, Madam President, from the Free Beacon that talks about senior Biden officials are worried that this bill stopping slave labor products from China coming into America will, quote, undermine the White House's climate agenda and unfortunately limit solar panel imports from China. And, quote, presidential climate envoy John Kerry, among others, has been lobbying congressional members against the bill. Wow. Wow. That's remarkable. Why would he do that? Why would he do that? Someone needs to ask John Kerry that. That's just one example. Something about John Kerry always in the mix, undermining American interests.
We appreciate accountability from opposition parties.
Stop the cap!
Since 1949, China has been ruled by one political party, the Communist Party. The party's leadership is enshrined in China's constitution, and it controls almost every facet of Chinese life.
We appreciate having to shout and provide alternative facts on media and press.
Stop the cap!
Over the past year, there's been questions about the journalism going on in China and whether the company, in its effort to grow, has muzzled.
In China, they have rules about what you can publish. We follow those rules.
If you don't follow the rules, you're not in the country. We write the stories that we think are interesting, and we distribute them where they are allowed to be distributed.
This is crazy. It's like a bitch with AIDS questioning you.
I feel like this had to be like set up.
Oh my
Like this has
God,
to be propaganda,
son.
bro. It has to be. And
A
I feel
bitch
bad.
with AIDS.
I feel bad that we're spreading it. Right? But people gotta see what they saying out there. Like that's crazy. That's crazy. Yo, they can't be going that hard and the other side is saying bullshit.
Yo, it's like a bitch with AIDS, right? She got AIDS. She gave you AIDS. You like this.
But then
all
she mad
skinny.
at you.
Yes, no, like this. Look. She like, you all skinny and shit. Like, damn, son, I got fucking AIDS because of this bitch. And she like, yo, what are you doing? Look how you handling this shit. I got questioned your shrimp. Like, come on. Like, bitch, you gave me that shit, bitch, just because you good.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Just because you can live with this shit, bitch.
Like, it's
damn, son.
Like, what the fuck,
Yo,
son?
you know what? That's a good analogy. You know what? That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
Cause they don't have freedoms. You get me? So they could run in people's houses. You feel me? They could lock people up. If somebody's sick, they could fucking lock them away for months, weeks. You get me? Cause you know why? You know why?
Why?
He said something that was very important, and I want you guys to hear this shit, right? He said, health is more important than any other right.
In China, we believe, and we strongly believe, that right to life and right to health is more important than any other right.
That sounds so nice. That sounds so nice, right? Because everybody wants to live. And everybody wants everybody to live and be nice and because everybody wants to live, right? But peep game, right? You know why in America freedom is the number one thing? Right? Because you gotta give your life to earn that freedom.
You gotta be willing.
You feel me? You gotta give your life. The cost of freedom is life. The cost of freedom is life. You feel me? So for them to say there's nothing more important than health is that they trying to, that's a brainwash. That's insane, bro.
If we've asked the government to secure us against all risks, no costs barred, then what we've done effectively is we've handed over all of the authority, all of the discretion over our decisions and our lives to some other entity, to the state. At that point, we have effectively zero liberty. But not only do we not have liberty then, we probably also don't have security precisely because we're no longer in control of our lives. Somebody else is. It reminds us of that famous quote from Benjamin Franklin, something to the effect of, people who would give up essential liberty for temporary security deserve neither, and they'll probably end up losing both.
The life of other people are not more important than rights. They're not. I'm sorry, but they're not. That's my final thought.
Whew. Anyways, man, it's your boy Uneducated Brother. You know how we do it out here in these streets. Yo, Ken, say the out.
Bad boy, baby.
Mr. Shakur, can we get a comment from you at all?
Hell no. Thug life.
No,
Thug life. Thug life. That's my comment.
What's that mean?